financing your next billion. Gain insights into successful engagements with venture capitalists and investors. Get ahead of industry trends, hear from industry leaders, influencers, founders, policymakers, and governments. Stay in the know on how to finance your next billion.
Welcome once again to FYMD Talks, and we are working today on the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. And that's what we're going to be talking about. I have a guest with me, and I'm going to be introducing her to you here shortly. But what I want to do is to preface this with the theme. This is the 69th convening of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. Our theme this year, our work that we're really working on, is going to be reviewing and assessing how well the implementation of the Beijing Declaration is actually going, how that platform is working out. We've put together quite a few different initiatives that wanted that to actually take place and be put in. So now we're going to do a review and assessment of that. Women Leading Change Now. I am the Yvonne Gamble, and I am the co-founder and executive director. And through all of our subject matter experts that we're going to have on and going to be speaking with you, they're going to be talking about 3 essential areas, and they're going to speak to us from the perspective of their business and how their business actually addresses these 3 essential areas. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring up my guest for today, and this is on Terri Maxwell. And she's going to give you an overview of who she is and what she does and how she does and how she shows up in the world. Terri?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. So I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I've built a lot of really cool things. I've exited, I've taken companies public on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange. And about 15 years ago, I had a purposeful awakening. And I said, there's got to be a way to use these business growth skills that I have to do good in the world. And so I sold the business I had at the time. I started over with this crazy idea. How can I use my business growth skills to do good? The first thing I did is I set up a purposeful Shark Tank called Share on Purpose. And we began investing in conscious businesses. Examples would be like the first zero waste makeup line called Your Izzy. Zero waste skincare. And I really found that doing business in a conscious and purposeful way fed my soul as well as allowed me to make money. And then 5 years ago, we established shiftco.org to basically train other founders how to build businesses that make an impact, as well as businesses that are profitable and scalable. And so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay, wow, that's quite a story. So the cosmetic line that you came up with, that line is still going, and what are they sold? Where are they retailed at?
Yeah, so I did not invent this. We invested in it. So this is one of our investments. It's called yourizzy.com. And that's an example of what we invest in. So it's zero waste, it's skincare and makeup. And then the Shiftco, in addition to continuing to invest through our portfolio company, Shiftco actually trains founders how to take their conscious ideas to market so that they make money and do good.
Okay, excellent. Well, that's perfect, and that aligns perfectly with what we're really trying to show up in the world with this the WCLN parallel event, because what we really want to do is we make certain that we stay in line with what the Commission on the Status of Women, and that really gives us a great alignment. So the first thing that I want to do, and I think you've even touched on that, and that is empowering that next generation so that they become that catalyst for lasting change. let's go a little bit deeper. You've already kind of told us, you gave us you gave us a nice little teaser there about the company and about the portfolio company and who they invest in and how they teach. I think the audience would be very interested to really know how this is done and how they can get involved with this, because there are a lot of people out there who are looking very conscious, a lot of innovators and a lot of young women and women-owned businesses who are really trying to get into these areas. And this is the first time I've heard someone who is purposefully teaching you how to be conscious and how to do good in your business. Most of the time it's always about making money, but I'll let you have the conversation.
Yeah, again, 15 years ago when I had my own purposeful awakening, I thought I was the only person in the world, and I'm not. There are millions of entrepreneurs. In fact, Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, which publishes a global study on entrepreneurship, estimate that 50% of all businesses that are created today are created for the dual purpose of making money and doing good. 50%. Most people don't realize that. And I think in the times that we're living in globally, it's easy to think that it's all about greed and monopolies, and it's really not. The vast majority of businesses that are being started today are being started to do good in the world. And so that's where I've just committed my life. And what we do at ShiftCo is we help founders diagnose what they're missing in their business. And then we give them the training, the coaching, and the mentoring to address that one thing. And then we help them shape the business so that it's more scalable, that it's more profitable, and then ultimately so that it makes a bigger impact in the world.
So would you consider that like an incubator, or is this?
It's probably closer to an accelerator than an incubator. Although we do have founders that come in starting, with nothing. The vast majority of people have already started their idea, but it's either not making money or they're kind of stuck in the get the work, do the work, get the work, do the work. And so it's really more of an accelerator platform.
Okay. So those have been in business, for a moment, and they're kind of, they're not really moving the needle forward. And so do you help them to bring on staff, or to know how to bring on staff, so that they can get the more work done, expand, or to grow?
It depends on what their gap is. So we've identified 50 different gaps between a business that's just starting and a business that's 10 million in revenue. And we diagnose what their gap is. And so one of the gaps for women in particular is demand generation, that they don't press on the gas as much as the men do, ironically. And so one of the first things we'll look at is, okay, what is your infrastructure to grow demand and to grow awareness of your business? And if that's missing, we'll help them put that in place. If it's scalability, another thing about women that's unique is that we have a little bit of the Atlas syndrome, where we try to do it all ourselves. And then what happens is we get overworked and we get burned out, and then we're not able to make the impact that we want. So if that's what their gap is, then we help show them how to get their time back and how to use resources, which could be technology, it could be people, it could be contractors, it could be freelancers, how to get their time and get some freedom back in the business. We help them with pricing, we help them with packaging, we help them with website conversion. So it really just depends on what their gap is, and we bring the solution. It's a diagnostic prescriptive platform.
Okay, well, my goodness, that is, everybody needs that. Every business owner, and especially women in business. I like the one thing you said, and I really want to kind of stress that and bring that up, and that is, you gave it a term, and it was that intersection where the woman feels she has to do it all.
Atlas syndrome.
Okay. I'm holding the whole thing up on my shoulders.
Everything on my shoulders. I got to do it all. And men are not like that. Men outsource very quickly. Women outsource very slowly. And so as a result of the combination of not being growth focused necessarily and being serve focused, their businesses don't grow as fast, they don't grow as profitably, and they get inundated with the details because they're afraid to let them go. And so we help them unpack that and help them realize that you really do have to either put technology and or freelancers in place to help take some of the work. And there's a way to do that is both economical and scalable. And you don't have to jump from one to the other. We can just inch our way into it.
What happens when a group of the world's greatest minds gifted with wealth beyond our imagination buys a sprawling waterfront property in Toronto? They make plans for a $14.3 billion futuristic city, that's what. Sidewalk Labs released its master innovation and development plans to turn a chunk of Toronto's Lake Ontario shoreline into the most futuristic city in the world. It would result in over 93,000 jobs and a better standard of living for its residents. And today, we're going to take a peek inside. Welcome back to our channel. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a video from us. Google X Sidewalk Smart City.
Okay. Well, that's very good. And I can say this. Today we're focused on the parallel event. We're focused on the Commission on the Status of Women. And what I definitely will do is I want to have you back, because that is so rich and so enriching. And we'll, so therefore, audience, my FYNB audience, I always bring you the good stuff. So I know what you're thinking, that, are we going to have her back? Yes, we will. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, in detail. But I'd like to kind of, move the conversation forward. And that is, in the whole thing of where we're trying to make these changes. And we want to, align ourselves with where we should be going and what should be happening, in our world. Continuous adaptation comes to mind. How does ShiftCo address that with continuous adaptation? Especially, when you're talking about business and that sort of thing. And it just seems like, I guess it can get somewhat frustrating, because it seems like we're always having to change.
Yeah.
And constantly adapt. And so how can we set up our businesses, or just set up our, not even, I'm going to take a step back. I think Terri can handle this. How do we set up our minds?
It's your minds. Yeah, it's a mindset issue. I think the key is freedom. And freedom requires detachment. And so one of the things we teach our members, we do a lot of what we call personal fuel training as well. We work on mindset and energy and focus. And in this area, your business is a living, breathing thing. I equate it to, it's like a child. And you know how much a child changes from day to day, week to week. And the next thing you know, it's like, wow, they're 7, and it just feels like they were a baby a while ago. The same thing is true with your business. It's a living, breathing entity. And as a result of that, it's very dynamic and it's going to change. What most people don't realize is they become at effect of the business. So if the business is doing great, I feel good about myself. If the business is doing not so great, I feel bad about myself. And you can't do that, just like with your children. You have to realize you're not at effect of the business, you affect the business. So that's where this dynamic change theory comes in play. And the way to simplify that for founders is we teach them to ask themselves one question every day. Who do I serve and what do they need from me right now? And if you can just get yourself in that habit, we helped our members navigate COVID. We help them navigate, some of the changes that are happening right now in our world, which, is very tumultuous. I think it's only going to get worse before it gets better. And just rather than listening to the noise and listening to all of that that's out there, just stay very focused. Who do I serve? My customers. What do they need from me right now? And let the dynamic change theory follow service, which I think is a huge competitive advantage for women, is we're built to be of service. Well, why not figure out how to take that with dynamic change theory and put them together? Ask yourself that question every day. Who do I serve and what do they need from me right now? And allow the change to follow how you service your customers.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes absolute sense, because that's actually how many businesses were able to survive and thrive during COVID-19 because they were adaptable and they changed to what was happening and they served what was happening. And
exactly. Don't hang on to what it was, because it's going to be different, and as fast as the world is changing, it's not going to slow down anytime soon. We're not going back, right? It's going to be dynamic. It's going to change week to week, month to month. So really just get yourself into the state of detach. The other thing that we teach them as a mantra, let everything be as it is. Let everything be as it is. Like, don't judge it. Don't fight it. Don't resist it. Just let it be as it is. If you lose a client, it just makes room for a better client. If a contractor didn't do a good job, it just means you're going to find a better contractor. So let everything be as it is. Don't judge it. Don't fight it. Don't resist it, because freedom and detachment go together. And if you want to feel free to build the kind of business that you want, you have to detach from what shows up and use what shows up to turn it into what it is you want.
Okay. I can see that, because and I can definitely see what you're saying in that, whereas like women, they're in the details, and so there's so much trying to perfect it or make it right, and so they're going to save the world, save everybody, so they'll hold on to that client that's not working and not realize that's not your client, that's not a good fit for you. And
exactly.
So therefore you'd have to let that go, and they're not a bad client, or it's not a bad deal, or you're not giving them a bad deal because of something you did. It just doesn't fit.
Right. It just doesn't fit, and it's time to move on and just just detach, let it go, and know that something better is coming.
Right. You are you, and they are the client, and your business is the business. So
that's right.
Are three separate entities. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, here's the big one that we're going to get to, and this is something that all of those of you who who follow the United Nations and the Commission on the Status of Women, equality, yes, it comes up every single time, and it will stop coming up. Some have asked the questions, when we stop talking about women and equality in the world, everywhere in the world, when we stop talking about that. Well, we will. That time will come, and that's when when things are done equally and things are not done purposefully to keep it unequal or imbalanced. What are the types of things that that you're talking about with ShiftCo here? What do they do in that whole arena, that whole accelerator experience that helps them to deal with that equality or inequality in their relationships in business or in their careers?
Yeah, so it comes back to mindset and energy and focus. Equality is something you can take as well as something that can be given. So what we teach our founders, particularly women, is entrepreneurship is the great equalizer. It doesn't matter color, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter gender, it doesn't matter what your income is. I grew up very, very poor, was beaten and abused in every way possible, and I'm a very, very successful entrepreneur in spite of those challenges. It's the great equalizer. So rather than being at effect of the world, affect the world and go after the customers that you want to serve. And if they don't want to work with a woman, find other customers who will. And I think the tendency is to listen to the media and to listen to all of the things that are happening right now, where it feels like the tide is turning the opposite direction away from equality, and to assume that that's the way that it is. That is not the way that it is. They're just loud. It's not true, and it's not real. So don't listen to how loud they are. Don't listen to the forcefulness. All that is just the old way kind of gripping on. Go after the things that you want, the way that you want. Go after the customers that you want. And remember, you have the power to create what you want. So that aspect is a big part of what we work with our members, is teaching them from the inside out that they have the power to create what they want. And if you want a more equal world, then move in a way that demands a more equal world. Rather than waiting for somebody to make it more equal, go create it. And that's why I love entrepreneurship. It's the great equalizer.
Okay. Okay. I love that. And you're absolutely right. It does, because it levels the playing field. Because everybody comes with the same 24 hours. Everybody, is going to the same market space, has the same opportunities. So and when we look at what you actually have in the world and the needs that the world has, there's so many people. And you're absolutely right. If this one customer, is not a good fit, be it man or woman, you go on to the next customers. And there's so many people that, are out there and are waiting, to have business and to do business with you. And sometimes you don't get to that next business or to that next place because you're hanging on to, like you said, an age-old thought, or a media, has said something, and now you're not believing. You turn outside of yourself.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And what's funny is, I was very successful in a corporate career before I entered entrepreneurship. And I was the only woman in the senior suite, the only woman in the boardroom, time and time again. I'm almost 60. And I remember thinking, well, why am I the only woman? And then I finally thought, I don't really care, why I'm the only woman. If somebody else wants to join me, come on, let's go. And I think that spirit of, if I want a more equal world, I'm going to create a more equal world, rather than waiting for somebody to make it acceptable for me to break the glass ceiling.
By 2050, our planet will be a vastly different place. By 2050, artificial intelligence will be everywhere. AI-driven stores will allow you to purchase goods without cashiers or waiting lines. AI will diagnose and treat patients, manage transportation, and analyze massive quantities of data. AI chatbots and voice recognition systems will sound like and behave just like real people. AI will be implemented into robots. By 2050, robot dogs and other pets will serve as companions. Robots will dominate factories and begin to serve as teachers, cooks, pharmacists, law enforcement officers, athletes, and other professionals. In 2050, universal translators will remove all language barriers, and voice recognition will be ubiquitous. Hundreds of sensors will be installed in our clothes, homes, and overall environment to monitor our well-being and improve our lives. Computing will change. By 2050, we may run on quantum computers. Based on the properties of quantum physics, quantum computers could deliver massive leaps in computing power, outstripping any current transistor-based models. AI and computers will integrate into humans. Brain chips like Elon Musk's Neuralink will treat neurological disorders like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, spinal cord injury, and blindness. These brain chips will allow people to control computers and prosthetics with no physical interaction. By 2050, we may be controlling things with our minds and communicating through brain signals. By 2050, robotic prosthetics may be stronger and more advanced than our own biological ones. Prosthetic eyes and ears will enter the market, curing blindness and deafness. And in 30 years, like AI, virtual reality will be everywhere. People will try on clothes in virtual reality closets, and holograms will bring FaceTime to a new level. VR platforms will allow you to move around while staying still. We will be able to travel the world and experience life on other planets, all from home.
Right. And that is really that optic is truly a misnomer. Yeah, that waiting for someone to almost like give you permission, because the one thing that I say all the time to people, and that is, no one can empower you because the power is already in you. So
exactly,
you can't. I don't need you to put power in me. I need to get the power out of me. That's
exactly.
As women, we need to get the power out of us and do the things that we need to do and show up in the world. And, we don't have to demand equality. We have to be equal.
Exactly. I love it.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been a wonderful time. talking with you, Terri, on this subject on the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. I am so elated and delighted that you came on as one of our premier speakers. And we look forward to having you back on the FYMB Talks. And we'll talk more when we have Terri back. We'll talk more about ShiftCo, specifically .org, what they do. And we'll really dig deeper into that. But for now, I want to thank the audience. I want to thank you, Terri. Terri, are there any last words that you would like to say to the audience?
The only thing I would like to say is, don't be in despair over the things that are happening right now. Use this as an opportunity. We're being called up, women. We're being called up to decide that we're going to make a better world. And I just happen to believe that you can do that best through entrepreneurship. So let's make it a better world.
Okay, I love it. Let's make it a better world. Thank you so much, everyone. And again, if you're looking to finance your next billion, you can hear on FYMB Talks. We talk about all those different things, what makes it and what goes into it. Thank you again.
Financing your next $1 billion? Contact us to be a guest. Join us for the next show.